So Dan and I were talking, that probably because where we are today, as a district and as a board, is very different from where we were a year ago. So we thought this would be a good time to review some things, roles, responsibilities, look at our goals, look at what Dana, we expect of Dana, kind of a repeat of what we did last year a little bit, and then to look at what we're expecting. Because it's very different. So anyway, this is a chance to, this will be a chance to do a lot of chat about a lot of different things and a little lecture. Okay, it's because we did last year. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do some review. Oh, wait a minute. I don't need to- Oh, that's okay. We've got stuff to hand in. Yeah. So we're gonna review some things. We'll do a little perspective again, talk about expectation and goals, and then we get into those 25, 26 district goals and goals for Dana. Can you hear us okay, Susie?
Yes, I can.
Okay. So these are the goals. These 4 items are the goals.
Yeah.
Here's those are our goals right now. So what our role is, servicing our other districts and in our counties, seeking to expand revenue and then be that servant, be that place where we are in a single space that serves as an asset for us and the communities. So those are what we have set up, and we'll come back and look at those. So I was just kind of remind you what the goals are so that we can come back to it. And you can see at the very end of, and I always keep coming, the one collaborative physical space in our vision statement. Well, we may want to talk about that.
Yeah.
So, and then these are the goals that we had for Dana. And can we have those separately?
They were sent out in the,
All right.
yeah, those, yep, the one with the header on it. Those were my goals based off of what
These
you
were,
asked me to do last year.
yeah. So these were the 24, 25 superintendent.
You've got
Okay.
I didn't see it.
It was there. And so again, you look at what we were asking Dana to do last year. We'll come back to these and we ask ourselves, is this what we want to continue to do? So
Very good.
So as we reflect on, as we reflect on the last school year, I'd like you to just take a minute. And what are some pride points that we have had in the last year? Give it a thought. Go around and we'll see what people think are. What are some of those pride points? And then where would we like to improve?
Are we just focusing on general or just the top one?
And we're not focusing on those goals or anything, but this is a generic question. So what are we proud of and where do we want to see improvement?
I'm really.
Come on,
Oh, I'm sorry.
this is think time, Diane. Think time.
Oh,
Okay, let's see. Let's just go around it. We'll start with Susie and then we'll go around the table. Point
Well,
of pride.
my first thought is kind of a generic thought, but it's how well our staff did starting out the gate this year without knowing really what was going to happen in terms of funding, staffing, or anything. They they just got to work and did their job the best they could.
Stacy?
I am really proud of the outreach for with the graduation efforts with the Hispanic, Latino program and with the summer migrant program. I'm just really pleased that we're helping our community step up and meet those needs.
Stephanie?
I feel like I'm borrowing garments. Every time I hear the reports from all of the departments, I just go, yes, we do that. When basically I'm supporting that, so maybe I deserve a hand, but not more of the garment than that. But it's just that overall pride of the way that they respect themselves for the work that they're doing. That they know that this is service and they're providing that service. And I like it.
Diane?
I totally agree with everything you said, and I want to say how special it is to come to a board meeting where the participants are part of the staff, leaders, and they share personally what is happening that month, the highlights. And there's so many that stand out. There's one that I just was so proud of them when they were talking about the Indian, working with the Indian families and how they would have food and invite them and they'd bring their families, the children, the little children too. And they did these projects together. So it was a new thing they were trying and it was so successful. And they were getting feedback then from the parents, meeting with them, building that important communication, being part of that community. And I just thought it was so exceptional. And I am saying, Stephanie said that I just beam for all of these workers because I feel they're so genuine. This is how they come across to me, extremely genuine, extremely hardworking, and that they truly take ownership of the entire organization, but also whatever part that they're in charge of. And it's really just a pleasure to hear about the new things they're trying, the outreach things, and how successful all these different pieces are. So it's not a normal board meeting, I feel, that we get to enjoy. I feel it's really very personable.
Oh, thank you. Paul?
I'm very proud of the fact that we have built over a fairly short period of time a very powerful group of directors who seem to be able to work together, look at a problem, analyze it, synthesize it, and come up with the appropriate solutions. And they want to have us have input into the process as well. So it's, I guess you could say, shared leadership and shared workmanship.
I think one thing I'm most proud of is that we went from being fiscally in the wilderness to knowing where we are and to knowing that we're fiscally solid. And again, that's one of our directors. We went from being a worker bee to being a director, and it's really shown some leadership. Dana, what would you say?
I think the internal and external communication has been a real strength, even when we've had to face really tough conversations. For example, this summer, Kip, Mercedes, Josephine, union president, and I sat with our migrant department on multiple occasions. And we were talking about layoffs potentially ending the program. And yet everyone handled it very professionally, and there was very strong communication between our office, between our association. When we've had to have tough conversations about where we're at fiscally, I feel like the directors are handling things very professionally. I feel like they have gotten to a point where they will trust me enough to tell me what's really going on. And in the beginning, I'm not sure that they knew. They could just lay out exactly what was really happening. I'm continuing to find things out that we need to figure out how to support and remedy. But I feel like our communication, even something as simple as sending out an evaluation for all staff. We had, 30 staff members respond, and they were thankful that that we asked, and then we were able to share it the next day with the union, and they have input into how we're gonna plan March. And what I was told is, we appreciate that you're just asking us because we've never been asked.
So,
And so I feel like the communication that people are starting to trust, and I'm appreciative of that they're giving me a chance.
I'd like to say something else, though. You know, we start out saying how well these directors are doing, but in all fairness, our new superintendent came July 1st and hit the ground running and hasn't stopped since. So I think Dana has been instrumental in bringing out the best in our directors. And I think that needs to be something that we really should let her know how we feel about that, because I think the two kind of go together.
Thank you, Susie.
we can only be as good as the top, and the leadership comes from the top, so it's really true.
Any other comments? People want to jump in on that? So a general good feeling about where we are as an ESD and where we're headed. Areas for improvement. Stacy, you want to check in? Areas for improvement.
Well, I share that feeling tired of being part of this group, and also that I'm not sure I'm earning to feel proud, but I am really happy. And I also echo Dana. I really appreciate how well you communicated with us, and your efforts to communicate well with people at all levels. The thing that frightens me the most is the financial stuff. That's the word stuff that's happening in DC. You know, it's leaving us with shattered plans and a lot of not knowing what's going to be funded that has been promised. And so, you know, that isn't like something that we're not doing well, but I think it's the thing that frightens me most moving forward is that insecurity with the financial part. It's all scary.
You want to check that?
Yeah, I would say the insecurity of knowing how much when the direction that both the federal and the state government are going to go. And I think that compounded with the fact that sometimes we don't communicate as well as we should. We being collectively, all the way from the board to Dana to directors to employees. You know, I think there's still that schism between employee and as we go up, the lack of their confidence in being able to talk. And I think it goes without saying that that's just part of the way the job is. Well, it's good, bad, or indifferent. That's just something we have to overcome. And I think with time, it's going to happen.
I worry that we might retreat too much. We want to be fiscally responsible. I'm not setting that aside. But I hope that we don't worry our way out of accomplishments, that we stay open to possibilities and be aware that this too shall pass. So keeping that forward momentum will be difficult with all of those unknowns. And so that's my worry.
Susie?
She was calling me.
Oh. You okay?
Yeah,
Susie?
I didn't hear what you had asked. I'm just listening, so I didn't realize I had to comment. Sorry.
Yeah, anything, what would you like to, areas we might improve upon as we move forward?
Well, I kind of agree with what Stephanie just said, that we are, and I would think, I mean, being a superintendent secretary, I know how it is that you're trying to do what's right in front of you right now and trying to react to it. But like Stephanie says, we need to stay open to what might happen. It would sure be nice if somehow we got the EPA grant back. But, you know, I was talking to my husband, I mean, that's a year or two. I mean, it'd be almost ridiculous when you think about it because of the costs of construction, what it would be then, that we'd really be right back to the beginning of getting money out. And that's would be quite a feat when you have so many other things going on. But you never know. You should have that out there so we don't, a lot of people went to a lot of work to try to do that. And we shouldn't just say, well, I guess we'll never have it. But that kind of goes back to what Stephanie said, though. We need to still know that there are other things that we can do and always be open to what we can do. So,
I, first of all, I think we need to stay really positive with what's happening, because I think it's just outstanding. And look at what has been set up in less than a year and build on, just for instance, how Dana sent out the communication to staff, its feedback. She is setting up really good goals, communication, and they're just gonna get better because that faith and that trust will grow, because just 1 year, everything's so brand new to everyone. And I think that when we have these great programs happening and we know they're great, we need to just reinforce those and stay solid with that curriculum. And if we look at our pieces of curriculum, no matter which field they're in, and we get them as solid as we can, like parent activities that they're doing and their outreach they're doing, and capitalize on that and give continuity, that the community sees the continuity, the parents see the continuity, the parents know they're involved, they're being asked for input. It just builds us stronger. So I feel we are really in the right direction, and I think thinking just 1 year, what has been accomplished, just like you said, the economic picture, we now have that cleaned up, where we know what we're looking at. Okay, that's phenomenal. What Dana has set up in 1 year, her leadership and getting the trust of all of these people and bringing the best out of them, that's phenomenal. And I feel that we're just really just stay on target. You've got those key bullet points going so well, and it's working, and you've got the priorities well, versus like you've got students, the staff, administration, the community, you've got all those pieces working together, and it's just it's growing in all those areas. And we're not going backwards. We're not going backwards in any of that. So even though we don't have the know-it-all about economy, we have all of these strong pillars in place to be successful. And I feel too that you guys are gonna stay on top of everything, and we're just gonna do the best with whatever we have. My gosh, you guys are doing a really good job. And it's just gonna get better, because the trust is going to grow, the communication grows. It just makes a really solid, good working, people will love to come to work. They're going to love to come to work. The kids are gonna love to be part of the program. The parents are gonna be so glad the kids are in. So I just feel extremely positive.
Good. Mine's a little different perspective. I agree with everything that's been said, but I worry about us organizationally. We're still a little bit siloed, and I still worry about it not being a cohesive organization. And I still worry about what happens if Dana is run over by the
She's
local
not.
school bus.
She's
I always worry about that. I worry about an either a short-term or a long-term succession plan. And, I said it last year and I'll say it again. I'm not discounting anything that happened, anything that's going on, but who's second in command? And I think we have to be real clear. And I don't see we have one person that is licensed to be a superintendent on staff. But I think she's working her way out of the job, if I understand correctly. So we may be, I think that's our responsibility as board of directors to make sure that there's continuity in leadership. And that's my biggest, to me, that's an issue. It's beyond what's going on here.
I have a question for you. Like you said, you mentioned about the cohesiveness, and you said you feel there's some weak pieces in there, or we're not, where they need to be built stronger. Okay, so you are aware of those pieces. I'm sure that Dane is aware of those pieces. So you can focus in on those. I'm not aware of it because I don't know But if you see those weaker places, then that's where you go in and you evaluate, and your goal is to fill the weak places so they're not weak and they're strong. So you guys know if there's a friction, I'm not aware of it, but you know. And I think that should be exactly in your whys, that you zero in on that and you make that stuff iron out. Because everything is doable. You can figure it out. And they would want to be doing it too.
I think because an ESD in and of itself has different programs that sometimes are not compatible with each other. And because we're geographically spread out, it's hard to build cohesion. And that goes back to why we originally designed that whole design of to have a single geographic space so that everyone,
Oh, yes.
and that's what I'm talking about.
Okay, yes.
And-
Oh, I see.
And that's my biggest, and I think that's still, we had a plan, whether it's the best plan, but we had a plan. Then it got morphed into something more, and then it went away. So anyway, Stacy.
I remember that was one of the very first things you said when you were appointed to this board, that you felt that we needed one location as a headquarter for everything. It's really pause for thought.
And that is very important.
Yeah.
But
And I don't know how often the directors see each other. Maybe it's once a month. I think you meet with them all once a month.
I meet with them twice a month.
Twice a month.
I've been very insistent that I don't believe in holding meetings when there's nothing to talk about, but quite honestly, there's plenty to talk about. And so we do one virtual meeting a month, it's only an hour. And then we do an in-person 2-hour training a month. I do not offer to videotape it or have people Zoom in, and they need to be here. And then, we've done other trainings, we do a director's retreat, we did a human resources training for a full day in August. They're obviously here at board meetings, and there's collaboration among certain departments, but we also have folks in 4 different places.
And I go back to what Paul said about communication. When you're in 4 different locations,
Yes.
yeah, the directors may get together, but there could be people who work in one of those 4 locations. It would be in line at the grocery store with another employee of ESD and not even know it
Right.
because they don't
Yeah.
see each other.
We have 2 days a year when the staff is together, and that's compromised because we support our constituent districts
Right.
and they're on different school schedules. And so that part's a challenge.
Can you get Hood River to move its school calendar to match
Well,
everybody?
It's actually on my list to at least just bring it to their attention. North Wasco takes what used to be statewide in-service day. And I'm at least going, if I don't ask, the answer is no, right?
Right,
And so I'm at least going to bring it up because my guess is that the big superintendents of the 2 big districts don't even realize. I'm going to ask that they consider taking what is traditionally the statewide in-service day off in Hood River. Because the challenge now is that since we provide health services to both of our big districts, we can't pull every nurse out. And so if that happened, it would be feasible. And we could do, instead of August, we could do October.
Does Hood River typically start before Labor Day? I'm looking at our Hood
it
River.
varies, it varies. I think with Newton, probably, he likes to start early.
So it can't hurt to ask, right?
No,
I think you can definitely ask. I have one more thing too. Do they have at their disposal, if they did, it would be fun for us to have it, a directory with their picture and a little statement about them?
Well, the
Do
staff
they
are all on our website with pictures,
but-
if they want their pictures shared.
Okay,
Um,
so they can get online and look to see who's in what department
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and everything?
Yep.
And so, so there's 4 locations. So everybody in those locations basically know the staff in their quadrant.
Maybe.
Maybe.
not necessarily.
We also have a very robust remote work agreement.
Right.
So it is It's something I've spent a great deal of time about and prepared some things because Doug has asked me to, and I think will be part of it.
Dana, are you talking about October 10th and 11th, usually like that Thursday, Friday? Is that what you're talking about?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Because, well, I used to do the calendar for the district, those 28
Well,
years.
can you do it for me next year so I can get that date, Susie?
So what I was trying to say is that we were trying, because Portland was always at a different, we were always trying to have the time so that they would blend with kids that are in high school as well as kids in the same family that are in college, or, so we were always trying to, Salem, we were always trying to get the same dates for certain holidays.
When I taught in the Portland area in Beaverton, they called it statewide instructional.
Yeah, it was statewide, October 10th.
10th or 12th.
How would it be too if you had a quadrant day or whatever your quads are called, or 4 groups, where that main people, the main leaders, however many there are in that group, they all got together once a quarter. And they did, everybody's doing it, but they're all meeting separately. Is
Well,
that too crazy?
let's come back to our
Then they
role,
get to
our
know.
role versus the superintendent's role. Okay, I'm
Well,
gonna come back to that.
okay.
So we're gonna review the goals again. And remember, that's a joint between Dana and us. Those are those things we wanna look beyond the day-to-day operations of the district. And what are those priority areas? And we've talked about some here. We're gonna come back to that, but that's what this is about. And then we need to tell Dana what it is we expect of her in terms of, okay, if this is the goal, what do we need to know for her to, that she's achieved that goal? And then we need to follow up at least twice a year, so we just don't get it at the end of the year. So we just need to think, that's where we should be at the end of the evening. What it is we want her to accomplish in reflecting on the district goals, what it is we expect to see in terms of results, and then review that probably again like in January. Okay. So we can see where we're going. So if you remember this little thing, it's called perspective. And so, Susie, can you see that online?
Yes, I can.
So remember, we all look at it a little differently. We all have a perspective. How many of you see an old woman here, an older woman?
Every time I look in the mirror.
I see them both, by the way.
You see them both?
Right on, Stephanie, right on.
Both, Stephanie or Stacy?
I see the young one first, but then I look for the hag or whoever she is because I know she's there.
Yeah, but we all focus on it differently. We've seen it enough. We know, oh God, there's two people in there. Now let me see where's the good looking, where's the young woman and where's the older woman? But we all look at it differently. That's why we come together as a board to have different perspectives. And that's what we need to make sure we're looking at it in different ways. I always go back to President Lincoln. It was the cabinet of enemies. I don't think that's exactly, but it was, he made sure he had people with different points of view. And it's important as a board we express our different points of view. So moving on. So we also then asked you to take a look at the different kinds of folks you are. Whether you're, we did this last year. That was kind of fun, so we ought to do it again this year. See who you is. Does everybody have one?
Page 2.
Everybody need one?
I'm mainstay.
So Stephanie, which one are you?
Well, in truth, I am a mainstay. However, I take exception to the fact that I'm gullible.
Yeah, but I am.
On the very
That's
fact that I think that I'm not gullible just proves that I'm gullible. So
I'm very gullible.
So you're steady.
I'm steady.
I'm mainstay. Yeah, me too.
Stay too?
Yep.
Susie?
Yep.
Exception, are you gullible too?
Yep. Oh God, terrible. I've lived with a man for 58 years and I still don't know when he's telling me the truth.
Well, we won't go there. Stacy, what do you think?
I wish I could cherry pick. However, I'm an enthusiast.
That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's true.
Yeah, I think this fits me the best.
Why?
I feel like I'm expressive and verbal and accept conflict and I try to be courageous and enjoy freedom. I think I'm more up and down and not as steady as I wish I was sometimes. I'm happy to be married to the most even-keeled man on the planet. Because I think we complement each other well. But I feel like I'm not a taskmaster. I'm an analyst in some parts of my life, I think, more than others. But in my role here, I think that enthusiast suits me.
The other thing I like about being a mainstay is that we don't have any problems or areas to work on.
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, I always have to go back and reread that. Diane, what do you think?
No, I remember this from the last meeting, but whenever you take these like really complex things about personality, I really land just right in the middle. You know, they'll have the quadrants and you do these question, then. So some people land really in one quadrant and I'm really kind of right in the middle. So okay, so I think you guys thought that I was an analyst, but I don't know. Parts of me are not. Parts of me are, and then I'm really a little bit of all of them. I'm not too,
If you had to lean toward one.
if I have to lean, let me look at this a little bit. Choice freedom.
Well, Stephanie, we hand her yours.
Spinning.
She can spin the arrow.
Take a spin.
Yeah, that's what I have. Well,
I think a lot of it's situational, isn't it?
it is. But, okay. I'm really a lot of all of them. I really am, you guys. And I can do all of the things, okay, just on the work on things, I can work on all the work ons probably. Doesn't matter which one. I don't.
Okay, what? All? Yeah.
Somewhere between analyst and taskmaster.
Get out your horsewhip.
Sometimes it's necessary.
Yeah. Susan, what do you?
Oh, my taskmaster.
You're, no qualms, no qualms.
She wants it done now.
Yeah, okay. Is that you, Paul?
At times,
Yeah. But, so you gotta analyze it before you get it done?
I try to analyze it before I jump on somebody.
Yeah. Dana?
It has changed as I've worked through my different roles as an administrator and as a human. I would tell you at this point, especially professionally, if I had to pick one, I'd say more analyst. I tend to stay calm and pretty even keeled. The issues around too demanding the details and things like that, I would say I handle myself, but not necessarily those that work for me. And I think that one fits me the best.
I'm like all of us. I can see myself in all of them. But I settle on the useless. And I probably changed because I always thought, oh, I'm an analyst and a taskmaster. But, become more mature. We work on hard about consider details. Man, I'm a little too detailed for some. So, that's what I mean. So it's always good to kind of take that step back and look at ourselves and see that we have a little bit of everything.
I think so, yes.
We have some pretty steady people. That's good. We've got some outliers, not outliers, different approaches. So I'm just going to go over this next part just real quick. You can just read up there. But again, our relationship, and we've talked about that between the board and the superintendent, is so important because we need to be working together. And that can, and when we have an effective relationship that really moves the district forward. So, it helps the district become more effective. Dana's not new, but she is only her second year. That's pretty new for a superintendent. And things have changed, and we have to expect change, and staff has to expect that. But we can't ask her to be different. She just has to follow the rules that we give her. That's what it boils down to. So, and we're going to be tested, and we're being tested today because we know of things that have happened that we've had to take a step back. Finances, what's happened with the center, how we go about doing our business, and I think our biggest challenge is, as we've said, it's going to push us more than anything, but also then to keep our eye moving forward and how we help shape that from a policy perspective. So it's all of us working together, and that positive working relationship requires all of us to be working with Dana and Dana working with us. And I think, thank you for those board members who really called out the work they've seen Dana do this year, because that puts us in a good starting forward. But we've got to be clear, and that's why I stopped you, Diane, because we have to be clear about what our role is, what her role is. And so the role of the superintendent, she sets the standard for progress and evaluates the outcome of the districts and brings that to us. She envisions this, this is not written down, it's up on the screen. She envisions the ideals of the district. She develops strategies to implement the district goals. And she demonstrates the highest standards of moral, ethical, and professional conduct. She builds alliances and partnerships outside of the organization. She needs to be visible at events and in programs, equitably deal with all members of the district, empower staff to succeed, and enhance the self-esteem of those being led, and set personal goals and maintain personal wellness. So you can read those up there, I hope. Stacy,
Yeah.
the most important.
I would, it's hard to discount the moral, ethical stuff and the equity, but I would say, given I know those are just, that's who we hired. I think that be active in building alliances and partnerships and having the board a part of the process is a priority for me. As you were saying, we want to avoid the silo stuff, and I think it's important for us to be integrated in all of the processes.
Susie, which one of these stands out for you that you expect of Dana?
Number 8,
Empowering the staff to succeed?
I think, like you were talking just a minute ago, Doug, about how we all are different on that funny sheet that you handed to us. And I think because of the differences, the 7 of us, or when we had Jeff, the 7 of us then comprised a unit that worked very well with Dana, so that she was able to accomplish these. I see her, I believe, like what Stacy said, definitely alliances and partnerships and stuff. But the bottom line is, when she came here, she has to work with the staff. First of all, she has to work with the staff before she can do anything else. And I know it's her second year, but I am just amazed at the blossoming of the staff that we have under her tutelage. But I think the staff feels like they have an open door system that they can always contact her or get her feelings on a certain subject, and I think that has started just a tremendous change in our district. So that's why I take that one.
Number 4, which then allows number 8.
No. It's basic character. Diane?
Okay, I'm gonna group 7, 8, and 9 together.
Okay.
because those all have to do with staff. She has to be equitable, dealing with all the members of the district, so her entire staff. Empower the staff to succeed. That's the goal from being, if she's equitable, that's going to empower. And then if she's doing that, it will enhance the self-esteem of those being led. And so if you can tie those three together, that is really having Dana focus on, she's just been able to make that staff so powerfully strong and cohesive. And when you're treating them all equitably, you're going to have cohesiveness, because they're not going to feel that they're favorites or someone that has her ear more than other ears. They're all going to be equitable. And empowering them, that's all going to be a piece of it. But then you're enhancing their self-esteem by showing respect to each one of them and allowing them to be treated equitably. They see that. So I just feel those three are so, they work, they're just intertwined.
I'm all for number 2. You don't have a dream, how are you gonna have a dream come true?
Perfect, all right. Mine is number 4. I believe leadership is based on characteristics of high standards of moral, ethical, and professional conduct. And you have those in place, you have leadership, and all the other things follow from that. Dana, which would you pick?
Honestly, I'd go with 8. I think that you brought it up earlier. I want to make sure that whenever my time here is done, that there is a successful succession plan, that regardless of whether or not whoever I've been working with wants the job or not, they would be prepared for the job. I do think that building strong leaders is a key component, whether you're a principal, director, superintendent. There are directors here that have phenomenal skill sets, and I want to build that. For example, Kristen, today I got her connected with the person that's lobbying for OAESD, and because she wanted to know more about how early childhood education is being funded in this state. Well, Kristen's now on a statewide board that's going to help with some direction. And I don't know that Kristen realized that she even had the option or would be selected to do it or anything like that. And I believe strongly that a big part of what I need to do is build strong leaders. And if they choose to then move forward into other areas, whether it's within this ESD or other places, that they've got the skills to do that.
We don't want to comment on any of the other ones or any other comments? Let's look at the role of the board. Ours is pretty easy. We articulate the district's goal. We select, support, and evaluate the superintendent. We've been doing a lot of that tonight, the support part anyway. Adopt operating policies. Thank you, Susan, for keeping us on task on those. Serve all our constituency. And I think that's something we always need to keep in perspective. It's not just Hood River and the Dalles. We've got more than that. And it's a broader constituency when we work with North Central ESD. And ensure the financial viability of our district. So these are the things we need to keep in perspective. Our role is, we're not trying to solve the problems directly, but we articulate those goals that then it's up to Dana to solve them. So our
Excuse me,
Simply.
Doug, can I interrupt you for just a minute? We're going back when you said we have to, can you go back to the other thing you just had? No, yeah. No, was that the one you just had? Oh, serving, yes, serving all our constituency. Because like you had asked the directors, that when they're out in Doofer or out in Maupin to find out if there's anybody that, would be interested in serving on the board. But we used to go to Maupin and we used to go to Doofer. And so maybe it's really our responsibility to start having a board meeting, in one of those cities to let them know that we are here for you and we would like to have someone represent you from your community, and let us do it, not just the directors. So that might be something we want to try to do.
I really tried for years, talking to everybody I met in Maupin. I'm an election worker, and the county clerk, Lisa Gamby, is from Maupin, and so
we became friends and did a lot of hiking, and every time we'd have a hike, I'd say, how about you? How about you? And it's discouraging, you know, there's a really active group in South County supporting education down there. But they're just so focused down there, I just couldn't get any of the spring tree up here. I
No,
think
yeah, I realize you've done that. I just thought though that maybe the board should resume going down there for a board meeting like we used to do. So I don't know.
I kind of have an opportunity that I was sitting here earlier when it was brought up. The school that my grandson goes to, it's an A1 school, and they play Moffat and Juniper, so we see these Moffat and Juniper people all the time, a lot, like volleyball, basketball, right now soccer. So we see them. And I think what I'm going to do, the next time we have one of those games, which within a week or two, we'll have to for Moffat. I think I'm just gonna go over to the grandstands where they're at and visit. We know some of the people personally and just say hi and tell them that we really would like someone from Moffat or Dufer and they know. I mean, that's a big group, the sports group over there. So I think I'm gonna try that. And just see, I mean, I can't, I'm gonna do that. Yeah, so who knows? If I get a name, I'll tell them who to call and what to do.
just tell them it's a really good gig, you're not a lot of work.
Great people.
We're very fun.
Fun meetings, no Zoom if the weather's bad, you know? Yeah, but I'm gonna try that because I think if, they're active in the community, the people that go, and they're fairly, a lot of them were the grandparents and the parents, so it's a big age range. And they care about schools because they're following their kids all the time. They're, you know, they've got kids in schools, so it won't hurt.
Well,
Yeah.
just to kind of wrap that part up, our relationship, and I think we're seeing it should be of mutual respect, and confidence, and there should be no surprises and no hidden information. That's why we're doing this tonight, is to make sure we're talking about stuff that's on our minds. So, but like I said, set goals, develop policy, evaluate policy, employ and support the superintendent, and evaluate the superintendent. Then we get into expectations. I'm just going to go through this. Expectations by the board and superintendent. We should expect Dana to execute policy and do it in a virtuous way. So when we've adopted a policy, whatever it may be, or established a direction, we expect the superintendent to follow it. We expect the superintendent to give all policies a chance for success, whether she likes it or not, i.e. board email. We expect the superintendent to refrain from making decisions we should be making, and the board has the right to be fully informed. So as we keep going, and I think that's one of the things we've already talked about. Going on, we expect recommendations that should be clear and concise based on data. The board has a right to expect the superintendent to share in the hard work as well as the blame when it comes down. And we should be working together, expect to be work as a whole, and we should expect the superintendent to support, be responsible for building confidence and respect by the board in supporting board action. Any district differences of opinion, we should hash out. So that's what the expectation of the board, we should expect of her. She should expect of us, make the right to establish policies and live by a set of sound policy guidelines, which I think we do. The superintendent has the right to expect full support from the board as long as she is the superintendent. The superintendent has the right to expect the board to operate as a unit or team, not as individual factions. The superintendent has the right to expect all board members to deal with school personnel through her. If somebody comes to you, get it right. That issue needs to be taken right back to her. I don't think we've seen that yet, but you never know. I don't know. For those who've been on the board a long time, has that ever been an issue? Personnel going,
It happened actually probably my second board meeting, and it was Stephanie who handled the situation very professionally, and the rest of you never all knew it even happened.
oh,
Nope.
Yeah,
It should be.
yeah.
No,
that's it. No,
In all my time, it's never happened to me.
oh, okay.
We've had board members that have a problem with that, but he's no longer with us.
Okay. Superintendent has the right to expect to be protected from unwarranted demands. And so we probably put more demands on Dana and then she puts it on herself. So, but if something comes up where we think it's unwarranted, we need to help protect her. And then she has a right to expect a good evaluation from us in a fair and honest way. So in sum, the board is the what and the superintendent is the how. So, and that's where it comes down to. If we think that one of our goals is to create more cohesion, it's not our job to tell Dana how to do it. It's her job to figure it out. There's a very distinct difference in there. So I wanted to hit communications. We haven't talked about that. So we know if we have good, strong communications, we've talked about it, we get honesty and trust, and we'll have a stronger district, and teamwork emerges when you have good communications. So we have to ask ourselves a couple of questions from the superintendent to board members, from board members to the superintendent, and between board members, what are our expectations? So which of the following meets our needs? Are board meeting updates enough? Should we have interim updates as needed from Dana, as an example? What about text during crisis or evolving events? How about meeting regularly, one-on-one? Do we feel a need for that? Get phone calls as needed? 2 or 3 of us need to meet with Dana at, or is there some other means of communication?
Just no emails.
What was that?
I said no emails.
That's a wicked piece of humor there. But good one. So.
Well, I think what she does is, I think if it's, I know when I was board chair, we had updates, and things are going on and before the board meeting, and then she would always make her report to the board. I mean, she's very transparent. So I would think if a need came up for any of those things, she would do one of those things and involve us that way. So, and then report back at the board meeting.
I don't see any of them that stand out. I think all of them pretty much are somewhat expectations.
Yes, they're appropriate. They're all appropriate.
How about the regularly scheduled one-on-ones? Do you, as board members, feel you need to meet once a month with Dana separately?
Oh, Reg.
Once in hiring, that was great.
No, because we had to cancel it because of weather.
Yeah, and I have a question, because like, let's say we meet with Dina, then so we can't give her ideas, or what do we talk about? I mean, what do you talk about legally that I could talk about?
You could talk about.
Like
Well, if
how,
you're doing one-on-one, it kind of depends on the conversation.
Yeah.
How it goes.
so if it led to an idea, you could say,
Oh,
like,
Yeah,
I have
sure.
an idea.
Yes.
Because then I'm not telling her how to do her job.
No.
So I wouldn't do that, because I could not do your job. So I don't want, I mean, I'm so proud of you, you just hang in there. Even if I was 20 years younger, I just, you're really good. So anyway, I just don't want to be, but I would love to be with you. Okay.
So,
I think I would go for the top 3.
okay, so I'll continue with board meeting updates we've had. If we've got an interim update, the governor sends a letter out saying, cut thy budget 10%.
Right.
Text during crisis evolving events, okay? And then beyond that, now, do we all text message? I guess that's the question. Does everybody text?
Yep.
Yeah.
So my question is, if Dana texts us, that's like a telephone. If she does a mass text, it's like a telephone call.
Yeah.
How was it different from an
Well,
email in terms
Yeah,
of response?
yeah, that's exactly where I'm going.
Yeah, it would depend on what the text is talking about or asking or whatever. It depends on whether it's something that requires a judgment back or whether it's just.
Informative, saying,
Do we
the
have
meeting has been changed.
do we have a policy on texting?
We do not.
Yeah, I mean, I think that my understanding would be that I would simply start by saying information only.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just give you information. And then if you all feel the need, then you need to separately just text me to respond,
opposed to a
not
group.
as to respond all to the
Yeah.
group.
Yeah.
Because, for example, when I email all of you in the middle, in between board meetings, I blind copy everyone so that your only option is just to respond only to me.
And, you know, in addition to policies with texting, like our local immigration group uses Signal. And with a lot of people when I'm traveling, I use WhatsApp, which has the option of security in ways that texting doesn't, like, you know.
What
there's
is
just-
Signal?
Signal is a,
Besides the one that got
Is it trouble? Yeah.
I flinched when I heard it.
Yeah.
I did too.
It's a group text.
It's a kind of a group, more secure group
And I
texting
think the
platform.
idea of the group is so safe, the way Dan is doing it too, that she just lets us all reply separately if we needed to,
Yeah,
because then it's very safe.
Oh, he was doing
Yeah.
Signal.
No, he was, yeah,
Oh,
he was
okay.
doing
Oh,
Signal.
that's
That's why
nice.
I flinched too when you said that. I'm like, oh.
Well, it works well for the immigration
Yeah.
community.
If you're not idiots to begin with, then, you know, it's garbage in, garbage out.
That's right.
But a typical texting would be sufficient. I don't know how encrypted we need to be or,
But if there's a big emergency, I mean, quite honestly, if there is a death, if there is an issue in one of our constituent districts, and I feel like you need to know that they just shut down Juniper High School or something like that, I could do a text. But I would probably be very careful and actually say, for information only,
Yes,
just as a reminder, because it's always so easy for any of us just to hit reply.
and then we're also not to share that with other
Yeah.
people. So when we get a text from you, it's not like we don't forward that to
Hey,
someone
Mike.
else.
This is what Dana just
But
said.
I mean, email I think has worked for the most part, and I'm just really careful about only a replying copy. Or if I'm just emailing board leadership, that I can email two people together.
Susan, can you look at our communication policy and let's just see if we need to add something about texting because
And I think this, if I may add, it really falls under public meeting.
Yeah.
Is what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
exactly.
So if we do have that, I'll review the.
just to
communication
see
policy.
if, because obviously our, with the internet and things of, and where we are electronically, it's evolved quite quickly. Okay, so that give you enough direction, Dan? Okay, so, just talked about that. So let's go back to the board goals. I think you all have a copy of that. Let's just take a look at these and we'll go down each one individually. Just to see if this is still what we want our board goals to be. If there's any way we want to parse it, eliminate it, edit it. I don't want to wordsmith it unless there's some words that don't make sense anymore. So let's take a look at the first one. So we have 4 goals and we've tried to keep them. One is that leadership. The second one is collaboration. Third one has to do with financing and revenue. And the fourth has to do with single spacing. I don't know, do you think that'd be good? Well, go ahead, Stephanie.
Can you, perhaps, I think I was the one who was the proponent of adding a will to our vision.
Okay, yeah.
And maybe if we could strike the will for now,
Which one?
on our vision up above.
Okay,
Where it says, it's funded from multiple sources, and instead of it saying will operate for one collaborative physical space, if we could just say might operate, or hope to operate, or,
sure.
Should,
Strive.
because it don't
Strive,
you can't
it's
will.
strive to.
Yeah, strive to,
strive.
but you can't will right now.
Okay,
Innovative and responsibilities on this foundational.
All right.
Will strive to operate from one, strive to
Thank you.
operate from one space.
So-
Okay, so this all is based on, we were going to be getting a year ago of the center, as we mentioned, number 4.2 districts. Okay, so that's functioning from a single space. So wasn't that all in mind, thinking we would be in our single space?
Well, that was what we were, our vision
Yeah,
would be,
was it
so we're
here?
gonna strive to.
Yeah,
Let's focus on the goals. So,
I know, that's on number 4 too.
right, we'll come back, we'll get to number 4.
Okay.
So the role of leadership and service, does this identify what we really want to accomplish as leadership in service? That part about being I don't know, are we still in that role of regulatory role?
I question that.
Yeah, well, we're trying to have that distinction. We want to be a service versus a regulatory role. And do we do much?
So we are, and if I can provide a little bit of context right now, we have a new OAESD Executive Director, Sam Breyer, who is phenomenal. I've already met with him, and we know we're moving into very difficult financial times in the state. And if you've been around long enough, you know that one of the first things that they talk about being on the chopping block is ESDs. It's happened multiple times. One of the governor's main initiatives right now is the new statewide accountability bill that just passed. And I do believe that with Sam's leadership, OAESD has the potential to be positioning ourselves to be a key component between districts and ODE when it comes to implementing the accountability bill. And so regulatory, I don't know if I like that word, but I do believe that being the agency that is helping ODE meet the accountability standards that the governor has set and working with the districts in a way that is sensitive to the unique situations of our constituent districts is almost something we ought to be advocating for, because I can see that if we continue to have financial troubles, it's a way that we can continue to show our need and purpose in this state.
So you wanted to say, and to be the agency role?
I mean,
So what you're saying, Danny, is that we shouldn't have a distinction between service and regulatory, because we're really not doing much regulatory.
we're not doing a lot of,
But we provide guidance.
we do, we provide a
Something
lot of
that's
guidance.
More along the lines of
And or provide the guidance.
guidance or compliance, or I don't know if compliance is right, but in the past, that's one of the big things that I did in my
Yes.
role here.
Yeah,
Or maybe assist the implementation of the Department of Education.
Yeah.
that's nice.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's good.
because the integrated program work that's done, we do a lot of work around compliance.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so how did you say that?
Assist in the implementation role.
So we really, it's not a distinction. I see what we're talking about. It's really that we maintain the role of being both service and service and that. It's- What was it called?
I said assist in the implementation
Yeah.
role.
It's service and assist in the implementation. I think that is really our role.
Yeah, and take distinction out of there.
Well, and taking regulatory out of there, because it's what we're doing, but it's.
Yeah.
It is, but I don't want to say it.
But we don't have to be the cop.
No,
No, that's
It
just,
can be the guide.
The
But
regulatory.
the problem with regulatory is we are the cop.
Yeah.
we don't want to be the cops.
That's right.
No.
Okay, and so it's gonna say and assist the implementation role.
That's what I said,
Yeah, that's, we're sticking with that. That's what I'm asking.
dump regulatory.
Role, yeah. Yeah.
And don't distinction that it's just, these are all part of our purview.
So it's gonna read.
So you dump the and regulatory.
Uh-huh.
What I'm going to suggest is that we get a draft out of the meeting tonight and it's brought back next month.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So, okay,
Yeah, that sounds good.
so yeah, it really is more what we've evolved to. So our goal is to be. Okay, let's go to number 2. And I think we limited ourselves to Hood River and Wasco counties because we have expanded to how many counties?
We're now, well, we also serve all of North Central, which is 3 more counties. And the STEM Hub actually serves 2 counties
Right.
in Washington. So,
Like events committee.
yes, exactly.
So this is inaccurate.
Yes, it is, yes.
So I don't know how we, do we list all the counties? That seems rather cumbersome.
And the other counties are kind of different specific roles as opposed to the more global kinds of things that we do in.
Yeah, it depends on the grant or the fund. I mean, like migrant education, we actually have the second largest migrant education grant in the state. But we're in a consortium and we serve the districts that are to the east of us. The STEM Hub has a statutory responsibility because of the agreements to also serve some of the counties in Washington. It's very dependent on the special revenue account. And then statutory wise, with the Common State School Fund, it's Hood River and Wasco counties.
So can we list just Hood River and Wasco counties and then add a little phrase about and additional counties, surrounding counties based on
I
the
like,
Well,
grant?
some of them aren't surrounded, some of them are a long ways away.
I like the idea of just listing. It's just so.
Maybe you should add it on number 3.
And, just, and put it in a parentheses, so when you go school districts, then go Hood River, comma, Wasco, and just list them, the ones you got.
But we are in ESD for Wood River and Wasco County,
Yes.
so I think that needs to
So
be
we're still
serious.
working, well, then what we
That's-
say, okay,
Then from there, if we can figure out a way to.
this
add
says,
on.
this says supports and collaborates with, do we,
Well, by law, we have specific obligations to Hood River and Wasco
Yes.
counties.
Right.
We don't have those obligations to grant in those other counties.
Right, and I guess I'm unclear about how, I mean, I think of board goals as not being, I mean, it's good to read them every year and tweak and that kind of thing, but I don't see them as something that we need to constantly be updating because now we've added an additional Washington County to the STEM Hub, and now, only 2 of the counties to the east are, needing our nursing services or whatever, and that's my concern about listing all the additional counties.
And maybe we could come back into it through number 3.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Instead of worrying about extending, instead of just expanding revenue, if we will seek to provide services to districts and communities through contracts and consortia, which is then where we're opening that door to other things.
Including,
You could put those right there in number 3, the names of those other 2.
I'm not a proponent of listing names because those are liquid.
yes, that's what,
Okay. Well, then if you want to be generic, we're just saying the community, I mean, if you're not going to be specific, then it could just be taken over by number 3. If you don't want to put names down. You already got contracts and with local and regional partnerships.
we could add counties instead of just districts and community partners.
Well, if you go back to number 2, I could say we support and collaborate with school districts by providing and scratching out kind of from in Hood River, the Department of Education to achieve Oregon's educational, oh wait, that's in the law, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
We are.
I don't think we need the comma after supports, because
well,
you've got County Board GSD supports, comma, and, so just go supports and collaborates with, and get rid of that comma.
I think both comments.
I don't think we need it. With school, can't leave that out.
but anyway,
Well, we don't need the next comment either.
That's what I'm saying.
And I don't
Yeah,
think
there's
there's
two.
two school districts, I get rid of that.
our job is to help
How about
achieve.
throwing in, before we get to the end, along with other counties and agencies associated with the Department of Education?
I like that.
Say that one more time, Paul.
They have a long-
Throw in before and, after that comma, along with other counties and agencies associated with the Department of Education to achieve Oregon's, et cetera.
Additional. Other.
Other.
Two commas, school districts and community also counties.
And agencies associated with
And agencies.
agency,
I
yeah,
think that'd
because,
be perfect, because it's short. I like it. Agencies.
I think the
Okay,
essence
so
of this
there
goal,
are
though,
local counties and agencies.
I think the essence of this goal is really that last phrase, by providing equitable, high-quality, cost-effective, locally responsive education services.
Say
Yeah.
that again.
The last phrase,
Uh-huh.
is really the essence of this.
Yeah, we keep that last phrase in.
That's the most important part.
That's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah,
Yes, it
yeah.
is.
And you can almost say Columbia Gorge ESD by providing equitable, high quality, et cetera, at a regional level. Period. In order to, wait, we gotta get this, in order to achieve the, achieve Oregon's educational goals, period. The Columbia Gorge GSD providing equitable, high quality, cost effective, locally responsive education services at regional level in order to achieve Oregon's educational goals. Reworking it there, not getting into which counties.
Specifics, yeah, I think that's fine because that is in the law in other ways. You know, I don't think it needs to be stated in board goals that, that's who we are.
Or you can put a period right after goals, is that what you're saying? And then if you want to have some of the details, so you get a separate sentence. It's all about sentence.
Well, yeah.
All I have is some arrows.
That's fine, that's fine.
Is that, how does that sound? Again,
Yeah.
it just focuses on the region.
That's powerful.
Okay. Well, does that sound good?
Yep.
Okay, all
Okay,
right.
could you read that whole thing out loud to me? what you're
Columbia
talking
Gorge ESD, comma, by providing equitable, high-quality, cost-effective, and locally responsive educational services at a regional level, comma, in order to achieve Oregon's educational goals, period.
We're missing verb.
about?
Yeah, I have a verb and goal.
According to Sister Mary Floran, yes, you do.
You could say, well,
How
to
about
achieve-
using
in order
provides?
to achieve, isn't to achieve, goal, verb?
Yeah. Or you could use provides instead of providing.
Here's a whole.
Columbia Gorge ESD
Oh, yeah, that's
provides
good.
equitable, high quality.
Well, let's take what you've got and then send it out to us.
Yeah,
That's
you
more.
could look at it.
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to the next
Yeah.
one. Yes. Okay, all right. Okay. Number 3, what do we want to say about money?
I think that one's good.
Yeah, I think it stays.
Yeah, I think that's still a goal. Yeah.
We seek to.
Um,
And the other one is an opinion, but it's still a goal.
Yeah. That's
You can
right.
get rid of the word best. I mean, Gorge GSD will serve the region through functioning from a single space that serves.
We aren't there yet.
I
Still on.
think we might need to use that strive word that we used earlier, because I think that's a goal. It, you know, it's a goal.
Still on 3 or 4.
We're still on 3.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Any change to 3? Because
3, no.
I think it's
I like the word strive.
strives.
I'd say strives to expand.
And then that fits with
Strives,
too.
okay, strives to expand, that's fine.
Yeah, and the reason I say that is strives a little bit more
Seeks, yeah,
action than
seeks.
seeking.
It seems like you're searching.
Or we are.
I know, but striving is more of a goal.
Okay, so how do we deal with number 4? And Dana, maybe this is when you need to give us a little reality check.
What I wanted to do, and it's in your packet, and I will start, it's the sheet that's got the colored boxes on it. I will start by saying that I was not here for a lot of this. It is what I've been able to piece together over the last 14 months. But I want to try and demonstrate where I think we're at when you all said last month that you were going to be looking at goals again, and knowing that having the ESD under one roof was one of your goals, I believe that what has happened is that this notion of an early learning center has gotten arbitrarily married with this notion of having the ESD under one roof.
But
And then-
because it was convenient.
And I think that potentially pulling those back apart is something to consider. So on the left side of your page where it talks about Ford Foundation grant, those boxes represent work that Columbia Gorge Community College was doing. And it probably goes back to 2021, just after the pandemic. They received a Ford Family Foundation grant. At that point, different president, different CFO, and a key member of the community was currently working for them, who then during the process moved to the Economic Development Division here in the Dalles. And their focus at that point was on early learning and agriculture. Those are two big programs that they have. They then went ahead with Ford Family Foundation money, did the feasibility study for the Early Learning Center. And in that study, and I shared it with you a few months ago in a board packet, all of the financial plans that they put forth in that study were plans where the community college was running the Early Learning Center here on their site. And in none of those cases was the Early Learning Center going to be running in the black.
Right.
They were running in the red in all four of them. At the same time, if you look at the boxes on the right, those are the ESD boxes. That's when Pat worked with a group from the national level of ESDs and came up with this brief document. And one of the goals was this notion of physical space. And then I believe at some point during that time, your board goals changed to reflect this work that was done. And then back to the box under the community college, they also then received an ARPA grant, American Rescue Plan grant, that honestly did not end until December of 2024. And somewhere during 2023, it's my understanding that between the community college, the ESD, and then at that point, the Economic Development Group in the Dalles, they all came together and started talking about how do we potentially start an early learning center, this notion of we all need to be under one roof together. And at some point, I believe during 2023, these two ideas came together and were married. And there were folks that started looking for sites. There was a site that was located. They looked at lots of different places. And it was at that point that then someone from the city brought forth this idea of an EPA community change grant. And it brought those ideas together with the idea that the money that the ESD would be saving would be enough to actually float the Early Learning Center. But many things have changed during that time, as we know, from 2021 to 2025. And some of them are pretty substantial, along with the fact that what's happening now at the federal level is very uncertain. Department of Early Learning and Care, which is housed at Oregon State University, just updated their study from 2021, when they were talking about daycare deserts, to now. And their reports actually go back all the way to 2018. And for 3 to 5-year-olds in the reality of this notion of a daycare desert, in 2018, there were 27 counties that they considered to be a daycare desert. And across the state, it's now down to 9. We've increased preschool and infant spots by almost 7,000 spots across the state. And at the same time, birth rates are dropping significantly. And here, just our 67 preschool promise spots, it took us almost all of last year to fill them. I believe that I think it's really important for us to take a look at what is the real goal that you all want. If what we want is to have the ESD under one roof, I think we need to consider whether or not we decouple it from this notion of adding additional preschool promise spots. I think it would be fabulous if the 67 spots that we currently had were under our roof. But because the initial vision was to keep all of those spots and add an additional 200. That's what's in the EPA grant.
I thought it was to get to 200.
No, it was to add 200 and to
Oh,
keep the ones that we had at their spots. And I don't believe that the market will bear that, and I don't believe that right now it's economically feasible for us to consider taking that on. I have done a little bit of math and a little bit of research. I reached out to Mark Redmond, who runs Malheur ESD. I don't know if you caught it in the OSBA update last week. He bought the building next door to his
Yeah.
ESD and he's refurbishing it. I emailed him right away. How are you doing that? He said, I can't pass a bond in my community, and he sent me his spreadsheet of how he's doing it, and he's making it work with a combination of borrowing money and getting some smaller grants and making it work. I took a look at what we are currently
Before
spending.
you go on, Dan,
Yeah,
you said 9 counties were considered deserts. Are we one of them? Either Hood River or?
Hood River and I mean, their definition of desert is interesting. We're still not in great shape, and so it is.
So are we a desert or not?
We're not as, we're not as much of a desert as we were. It is improved, it is not improved as significant as other areas. And yet we're still not able to fill our reasonable promise spots, which we're all still puzzled by. And I know, for example, in talking to folks anecdotally, that folks send their kids to St. Mary's because they're the only ones that have the expanded amount of hours that they need.
About 500 or 600.
Yeah. Part of the challenge with the feasibility study that was done is that it was not done with the notion that we would be functioning under a CBA. And so with a collectively bargained agreement, if you are down to 3 kids, you can't send a staff member home.
No.
They still get paid. And any other privately run preschool, if you drop from 10 kids to 3 kids, they send someone home. And so there's
Are you talking on a daily basis?
on a daily basis,
Okay.
yes. I mean, we've got expertise. Kristen worked private daycare. I did decades ago. But the reality is you're an at-will employee if you're working at private preschool. They send you home, bless you. And they expand the classrooms as the kids show up in the morning, and then they collapse the classrooms as the kids go home in the afternoon. Where it's legally, you're able to do that. You can't put infants with 5-year-olds. And then they send staff home. And so I believe that as you look at your goals, it's important to think about, is it time to decouple it from additional spots for an early learning center, and to consider whether or not it's feasible for us to just all get under one roof.
And I would say it probably is going to be much easier to do so. Because you're looking at different facilities.
We're looking at different facilities. I would still think it's really important to actually really get all of us under one roof, which means 4 classrooms of kids and probably 2 classroom spaces for supports for EIECSE.
Yeah.
And with a robust remote work agreement, we have 80 employees, we don't need 80 desks.
No.
We need 35 or 40 desks and a conference room. And so that's a completely different amount of space. Is that 12,000, 15,000 feet? I mean, I'd have to hire somebody to do some of those things. The short and long of it is that right now, every single month, we are spending money because equipment was bought for the early learning center that we're paying $550 a month on storage on. And we're spending some of my time every week, every month, continuing to email and correspond and respond to questions and meet with a project manager that technically doesn't have a job. But there are still a lot of things that are happening. The school district has a Brownsfield grant to do abatement on the building, on Chenoweth Middle School. Abatement doesn't mean that it's then going to get put back together. So they're also in the process of figuring out what might happen with the fact that they have this abatement grant that would leave the building in ruins more so than it is now. And so again, I wanted to make sure that you all know, right now, my fast math today, we're spending about $10,600 a month on a combination of rents that could go towards something that eventually would be ours. We also fully own the two sections of the building on Third Street, which it's my understanding they were for sale for a very long time, but we own them outright. They can be sold.
I think we paid 600,000.
It was, yeah, it was ESSER money, and it was, I think, a fabulous move on Pat's part, because that money now was not sunk into staff, like many other districts,
Yep.
we're not, you
So
know,
we're not obligated
we're not,
to do that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we now have that resource to, you know, either borrow against and then sell. But I think it completely changes the idea of what we do if what we're really focused on is trying to get
Under one roof.
under one roof.
Yeah, I think what you're planning is great. It's just so sensible.
It doesn't mean we're completely dropping the goal of, you know, the desire to have the other components of that resiliency center, but
But this is more,
pulling that out maybe
this is
more
more
realistic.
short term, coming quickly.
And this goal doesn't really address the big picture.
It doesn't.
That's true,
It
though.
doesn't.
That's true.
Yes, that is who we would like to be.
When Representative Benz was here, he was asked about the center, and his response was, my staff's looking at it, but we can't get an answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of to sum up what was said. So do we know, is that grant program kaput?
It's in the courts. There was an initial court case that basically kicked it to a different kind of court. It's part of what I try and follow up on every week. I have actually registered us to be part of the class action lawsuit, but it's part of what takes my time. I don't attend all of the various Zoom meetings anymore. I was at the beginning. I do think that if we are going to change our focus, if we are going to step away from a large, expansive preschool resiliency center, that it is going to take a little bit of a comment from our board, because there is still a great deal of conversation about this in our community, and I don't believe that the community understands the fiscal components of what this would look like. The $20 million, it sounds like a tremendous amount of money, and it is. And in today's market with the federal government in such uncertain times, I personally don't want to be in business with the federal government right now. Districts have spent money that they're never going to get back, and that's really concerning to me for our fiscal responsibility to our districts. But I don't believe that we can just kind of let it die. I think that there is a point where we would need to say something as an organization that we are choosing to step back from this project in the current climate.
That's pretty.
So let's ask the question. So the court says, no, that was illegal, you gotta release some money.
We're gonna get out of line.
Yeah, and obviously,
Yeah.
this was originally envisioned, if I understand correctly, as the early learning center for the community colleges lab for their early childhood program. And where is the community college in terms of their commitment to that vision of having that kind of a lab?
Well, and it also was the whole resiliency thing with firefighters and kitchens and.
And that part I will tell you was a them taking the round peg and pushing it
Right.
into the
To get
square,
the
yes, to
EPA
get the
grant.
money, yes. When, in my conversations with Dr. Lawson, he is fully understanding of what the financial risk would be to us as an agency. I mean, they do have places to place students in their two-year program to do internships. His experience with early learning centers in previous assignments to different community colleges is that they don't generate money, and in one of his two assignments, he actually had to close an early learning center because it was costing the community college so much money. And I asked him point blank, how many spaces does your staff need? How many spaces do your students need? He said, maybe I have 10 or 12 staff that would need a full-time spot. He said, my students, they only need drop-in. They can't afford to pay for a full-time spot. And
Well, you're talking about for daycare.
yeah, I mean, I was just asking him out of curiosity. He's a large employer. And so, you know, we had this ongoing conversation and there is a need for them to be able to place students for interns, but they are managing that. I think that at this point, he's of the mind that it's not coming back with everything that's happened at the federal level. It is still in the courts. It could still come back. And we have also, a lot of the money that we thought was in a pipeline, many of those foundations have said, sorry, we've moved on. You don't have the funds anymore. So Ford Foundation, who was very actively involved with us, has said, call us back if you get the money back. 3 rounds of the child care infrastructure grant through the state, the 3rd one just opened up. They've told us we're not eligible because we don't have a big enough chunk of the money to start. So we've missed many opportunities for funding in the time that the grant has been suspended, terminated, whichever word you want to use.
I feel like it's already been announced to the community that that grant is gone and the Resiliency Center is no longer.
But we still have to forward think that what if?
Yeah, that's.
And so how do we
Yeah.
add to our goals of communicating the best vision? 'Cause this is not sounding like the best vision anymore at all.
Yeah, well, I think that, the idea of a single space, because that's where we started this whole thing. And then it kind of, mushroom, morphed, exploded, I don't know what the word is.
It exploded, yeah.
Question too. I have a question, Dana, and I know you probably covered part of this, but I just, it went over, I missed it. But
okay.
you're gonna have the $10,000+ every month that's going out for rent. Yes. Okay, so right now, you mentioned, I think you mentioned a place or two in the Dallas, but is there a place right now that has that square footage that would allow them for classrooms and those other two and, you know, what you thought about? Is there any place that, because there's so many empty buildings around here, but is there something that you would be under 10,000 a month?
Well,
No,
no, I mean, no, I don't know that there is at this point. I think I think it would definitely take some work. I mean, I think about something that was done in Central Oregon where they retrofitted a warehouse and
Yeah.
turned it into a high school and a middle school. It was very expensive. I don't know what that path forward looks like. I do feel that it's, for the culture of the organization, I agree with this vision, that having us all under one roof, just the idea of being able to work in a building where there are kids again, I think would be good for everyone. And I would love to figure out if there is a path forward for us to be able to do that.
It also would help us be more integrated because I go to meetings and things at ECSI and with the preschool there when their kids and the families are getting together because they're transitioning to D24, but you know, it's like one little component of what we do, and I think all of us would be able to be a little more integrated together.
High Desert ESD also transitioned from renting to
Did.
buying.
Yeah.
Have you talked with the then former superintendent about how he financed
I haven't
it?
talked to Rexford about how he got that building. I can't. I mean, that's why I reached out to Mark Redmond, who's the now here, because I want to know, and I'll go talk to him. Honestly, Landon Braden, who runs Balawa ESD, he's built this amazing facility that was a midtown old building that they renovated. I think there are a few examples around the state that were done at a more cost-effective basis. I mean, I'm not going to get the one that's by the airport in Portland. I don't think I want that one.
you mean the Brick Palace?
That's what, okay. But I guess knowing that you all were going to be talking about your goals and going back and really trying to piece together where this came from, I know for me, the culture that you can build when you do have folks together I think would be extremely beneficial for the ESD.
So,
I think the goal as it's written stands,
yeah,
because it doesn't have any pipe dreams. It
Right.
just says
And it
this is what
doesn't
we
tie
like.
us into the college, it's just
Why?
us.
Other worry is how do we put the word out that we're not chasing unicorns?
Well, I think
I
it'll
feel like
easy.
it already went out.
But my worry is if,
well,
I think in a way it has, because that seems to be the culture of Wasco County.
well,
I don't think that's the culture of Hood River County.
Oh, that's interesting.
I walked into a conversation this morning with my daughter who works here, and two of her friends, and they were talking about the Chenoweth Middle School. Why can't it be developed? And, and so I'm not sure everybody knows that. But not everybody pays attention to everything that goes on.
I think that is a wonderful plan.
What's that?
It's not taking an existing building, it's.
Except that that building, it would take us almost $40 million to
I know,
amp.
it's your plate, no, but something smaller, a section, because
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
talking initially to start with just a smaller, you know how the size you were explaining that you want? That's not a huge building.
Well, but we still need money. That's the number one.
Yep.
Yeah.
And number two, they're working with D20. I think we need to set this as our goal. I think it as is. And then we get to the superintendent goal. And
yes,
again, remember, we're the what,
yes,
she's the how.
and there we go, there we go.
And so we say to Dana, figure it out. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. The question is that you've raised is, as part of this goal, how do you spend your time? And do you just, I don't know how you not respond to telephone calls about it. Number one, it's just going to be part of it. But number two, what do we do about the stuff that was purchased? Is there another place we can stuff it someplace that does D21 have a place we can stuff it?
Not really, or no.
Or could, well, when you go to that, you go to the old building, there's a lot of stuff in there now.
Maybe check with Hood River County School District and see if there's any room with that, the little old school where the bus barn is.
Oh, yeah.
I do think that at some point, a decision will have to be made about whether or not we are going to move to close out. There is a process to actually close out the EPA grant, even though we did not draw a dime from it. Or we're going to let it ride through the courts and potentially come back. And then there is the issue of whether or not this board is going to choose to accept those funds or not. And is it better to make a decision to table that idea now or let it ride out? And
Can we get out of that?
If there's a way to withdraw, I'd like to withdraw, because it clears up a lot of what ifs. And even within our staff, there are people who still hope that that will happen. And they don't have some of these other realities of the feasibility that maybe wasn't looked at as carefully as it should have been.
And with the demise of all the additional funding now, because we don't have the funding and Ford Foundation and whoever has moved on, even if we're granted that money, what we could do with the money would be so different than what the grant that.
Well, obviously,
You know.
it's going to be very difficult to retrofit the middle school.
Yeah, it just, I guess what I'm
Because
saying
the money's not
is
there.
that we would have to change how we were gonna spend that money, and then that would negate the grant anyway.
Yeah.
Because we would be changing the grant. And
And this is one of the things, but if it's a private building that you can buy, I mean, can the ESD, we're government, right? Can we?
Can we own a building? Yes.
Yes, okay, so then this is totally, now I'm gonna go to private for a minute here. Like when Verizon built their school, we sold bonds. People bought bonds for investment and they gave money at the time, big money. 100,000, different people, 200, big money. And then there was a bond, and then the bonds come due down the road, but it made, they built a school.
And as a public entity, we can put a bond on the ballot. And I do not believe in this current environment with a district
Uh-huh.
that has 100-year-old buildings
Oh,
that has not been able to pass a bond. And it would do us any good.
We can borrow,
We can borrow, yes,
and we can, and we do have free and clear asset,
we do. We
Yeah.
have a free press.
Yeah.
but, $600,000, I don't know how far that would get us.
Yeah.
But, I mean,
This sidewalk,
yeah, but still, that's for you to figure out.
Yeah.
We can only tell you, we want to get this accomplished. And I don't hear any disagreement, this goal needs to be in place. But it's, how do we get there is a whole different issue. And there's all, can we renovate part of Chenoweth? Do we want to?
Part.
Can we work with D21 because they use the gym? So plus different things, but anyway. So what I'd like so we'll go to the next thing, which is superintendent goals. And these are the goals from this year. And I get down to, we don't have anything in there that Dana has to address the board goal regarding a single space. And it seems to me that we've just given her a marching order.
So do we need to add that goal then?
I think we need to add, we need to look at the rest of these. But I think that what we need to do is, if we're going to add that, ask that Dana bring back a series of recommendations regarding, that's her goal for the year. One of her goals is to bring a series of recommendations to us regarding the disposition of early learning center. That way, we can have a plan to step through it. Because I don't believe everybody knows. I mean, people drive by and say, what the hell's going on with that building? Well, as a matter of fact, there was a Facebook, one was stupid. The Dell's Facebook. What's going on? Hey, why doesn't somebody renovate that middle school, Chenoweth Middle School? I don't know if anybody even responded. Anyway.
Thinking of your time. As you mentioned, bowing out of some of the suit information. Do we need to decide whether we want to really bow out, free for time for other things?
Maybe that could be something that is a part of what Doug is saying Dana's going to do for a future meeting. Like come up with a proposal of what.
We have one that's more short-term, one that's more long-term.
But I think before we can just willy-nilly say, no, we need to have a plan on how we're going to roll this thing out.
Okay.
And what's
it
in,
might be on your goals, rewriting number 3.
yeah.
Oh,
Well,
on
actually,
my
it's,
The organizational structure.
actually, number 3 is still, Paul, I really think that's different. That's about the internal structure. Who does what, where, and actually it comes down to who's going to take over when Dana gets run over by the bus.
Yeah.
I keep saying that, and if you get run over by the bus tomorrow,
I
I'm
know.
gonna-
My husband's gonna have something to say to you.
Well, since he runs the bus department.
There you go.
See, when the bus, so that's very.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I've already had a conversation with Gary Peterson about this. Many of you know him as one of the former superintendents here. And I've asked him at some point this year to come in and help me do kind of a look at organizational structure and make some suggestions more. So I'm actually completely comfortable with number 3, and I think it needs to happen. I believe very strongly in building leaders from within. I'm just curious, I mean, I have 4 goals here, and I'm hearing you say you want me to add a 5th one.
But I'm wondering if we can combine 1 and 2.
Okay.
To maintain, this is what I heard a lot of people saying, maintain and keep moving forward the momentum that has been built.
Okay.
Both programmatically and revenue expansion.
Okay.
I heard there's a lot of good, strong support for keeping it resilient.
Okay.
Like the word maintain better than sustain.
Sustain sounds even better.
I'll
Well,
see what they are specific.
Yeah.
Because I like sustain.
Yeah, okay. So I'm hearing combining 1 and 2, keeping 3, but number 4 is increasing the space.
number 4 becomes seek to improve communication and feedback by developing a facilities plan for everyone.
Oh, that's a really good way to do it. Or as, as part of the process, any way of improving communication and feedback. To consider options.
So you're putting single space under the communication. Is that what I just heard? Is that the single space is going to be under the communication?
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually,
Because of,
improved
Yeah.
communication is a result of everybody being on.
Oh, I see. Okay, that makes sense. Okay.
You don't have to say improved communication, just develop a facilities plan to improve the culture and communication in the ESD.
Okay.
So,
Culture. So combining 1 and 2, I'm leaving what is on the old page, but updating it for the organizational structure. And then the communication goal will all under the umbrella of, try to get us all in single space.
So is there anything else then that we've talked about today that we want Dana, on which we want Dana to focus? We talked about momentum, heard a lot of that. We talked about improved communication, which we're addressing. I don't know, can we give her a goal of improve the revenue and everything is so insecure? And I'm looking at everything else that we talked about early on. It is that sustaining, maintaining that momentum that's been developed. That's a pretty broad umbrella. I don't know if you want to be anything needs to be more finite than that.
I like the idea of like doing a proof, and us coming back to meet again and go over the proof.
Yeah, no, that would be, no.
And then we're going to have more, we'll be able to look at it, and I think it'll fall in place a little clearly for us.
Yeah, that would be, based upon the great notes Susan has taken. Susan and Dana will put their heads together and they'll come up with a draft for us. And I'm not going to be here at the next meeting, but I have trust in the rest of you.
Oh, well, we'll just schedule it when we know you are.
So do you want a draft back in October?
Well, I think it needs to be.
Yeah,
I don't,
okay.
I don't think you
Yeah.
delay just because one component of the board isn't available.
So we'll go on in October.
Yeah, this time, that month I will be over the Atlantic, so.
I may be in BC
Oh,
next month because my baby comes.
you said 10 days.
No, well.
Yeah, I heard her say that.
Yeah, well,
Oh, she's-
sometimes babies don't cooperate.
Really?
And I've had 2 grandbabies born a month early, not the same mom, but You know, so, but I would be available unless it's like the moment of, which is unlikely. But I would be zooming in from DC. If they're, so I could, you know, I could do the meeting, but I just, you know, that's
Really
late.
phenomenal
Well,
about doing that.
Susan, would you look at, if board leadership, if policy of board leadership's not available, how we. If we need that, there should be a policy to some.
That's,
I think maybe because
Oh,
couldn't do it for him.
yeah, that's what I worry about, is the quorum, it's like,
As long as there's four, well, is a quorum 3 or 4?
or.
For,
When do you go on your trip?
That day.
So he's in the air, he's saying.
Which day?
That
The
day
day
of
of
the
the board
board
meeting.
meeting.
Board meeting.
Oh, can't, okay.
Just cancel your trip. then.
No,
Yes.
leave
Now-
we can have our own little board meeting, this type, that'd be perfect.
What's public meeting law as far as announcing a meeting?
I was going to say it wouldn't be an emergency, so we'd need at least 24 hours.
yeah,
24 hours.
Yeah, ideally 40.
And then
but
you're here, right?
maybe.
Maybe.
Well, and Doug will be here.
Yeah, well, I think we would have,
If we
I
have.
mean, it Zoom counts though, right?
It does.
Yeah,
Yes,
see,
Zoom
so,
does
count.
And even
Yeah.
do it in 2 weeks from now.
No.
No, in 2 weeks, tell me.
I think we should stick with our
Stick
schedule.
with the schedule.
And if our immediate past president could be,
And we get a quorum if we have you.
and then we can
yeah, I
all,
should be able to zoom in.
And Susan could be here.
and we can look at all of the documents.
In
If-
advance.
Ahead of time.
And if it doesn't seem that there's, we can table it, but we'll have the idea of where, this is not a road trip. This is
Yeah.
where we're at. We're not on the
Yeah, we
road.
just have 2 people on the road trips.
Right, right. But as long as we have an idea of where we're going, and we keep that with the regular meeting so that all of our directors and everybody's, I like to stay with the status quo. I think that's part of my main.
Mainstay.
thing. But we'll have the information we need to know what direction we're moving. And if we need to table it, we table it, but we'll amass that information so that we have thinking.
Or if we have to postpone to a time certain.
And then
And
I
also we
can,
can rewrite it to, like, if we look at this, we think, well, this isn't quite clear, then we can still do the repair work on it, on our wording.
and I could lead the meeting if you think it's functional for a Zoom person to do that.
Doug did
But
ask
it's- But it may be also better if Paul is here and could just be here and do it.
I think
fine
it
with
would be
that
good
too,
to have
so.
a person here, because then if there's papers that we're passing out or anything, then you're not, it's just making it easier. And you can still have a very strong voice, but I think we can have somebody person.
I kind of do too, but I'm fine with whatever it's made or whatever the regulations are. I'm not sure.
It would be like here.
It is the vice chair.
So
She's here.
going once, going twice, are there any other things on which we want Dana to focus? On, oops. This
Right, I
next
think
year.
other than goal 3, we've given her an assignment to rewrite 1 or 2 together and add to 4.
And we can, so we'll still have 4.
The only thing I
No,
would
I
say
have 3.
on that last one is that you have an ongoing, I think, pretty impressive process of improving communication that doesn't entail the one place for all of us. So I just don't know if we want to say that we want her to improve communication because of the one side thing, or if in part of the process is moving toward one side.
Well, but the first 2 goals are about sustaining and maintaining the momentum, which includes the
The communication. Okay. that
That's the way
works.
I look at it. That's
Okay.
part of it. But we can always get better. And about the things we talked about, disparate programs and siloing inevitably goes on.
When I was first teaching, my school had this motto painted in great big letters that said, "I'm super good, but I'm getting better. See you at the top."
I love that. How comfortable are you?
I'm good. I mean, honestly, I would tell you that having worked in buildings, I mean, for so long, whether it was district office or at a school building, I would love to figure out how to crack this nut and get us all into one room. I think it would be a huge shift in culture for the CSD. Even with a robust remote work agreement, you can still do things like have staff potlucks and things that I think are really important. I don't know what that path looks like right now, but that doesn't mean that it's not there. And I do think that there are some ESDs around the state that have figured this out.
Well, I think one of the things that will happen is if we're all under one roof, that's going to decrease the siloing.
Yeah.
It absolutely does.
It does, it absolutely does.
Kind of improves our work toward all our goals.
Almost, yeah. So and there are really smart people that I can call to tap into and ask for help.
And I come back to, it's not just communication, it's culture.
Yes,
And you have people all seeing each other on a regular basis, it's culture.
Yeah.
And that's our job, as we said, our job is to help, we talked about how staff succeed. This is one way that staff can succeed in a strong culture. Oh, we got through it all. Susie, how you doing over there?
I'm okay.
Become quiet. Anything you'd like to add for the conversation?
No, I think, when it's really sad because I was so happy and Pat worked so hard. And we thought that whole concept was just perfect to use Chenoweth Middle School. But now, since it's so far out of our reach, now the other side, thinking about what Dana's thinking about, also sounds like a great move that everyone would be under. Just have to kind of think outside the box. So I'm glad that we're just trying to keep going and put one foot in front of the other.
Classroom, desks,
it's furniture, it's preschool furniture.
preschool
It
furniture.
is, a lot of it,
Ah,
yes.
You know what? Yard sale.
No, I never did any.
Yeah, I think if you go $500
No, I'm thinking other
times
districts.
10 months,
Yeah,
it's
I mean, it-
$5,500.
yeah. I mean, it might be time that we figure out what our own buildings need. And then, yeah, and then figure out
Some
what
of
we're
them
not.
we discussed there.
Yeah, and if it's kindergarten size furniture, do we talk to our constituent districts?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I would love to figure out a way to make it happen. I am very, very conscious of the fact that we have to be very careful fiscally. I have to balance both of those things out right now.
Anything
I just
else?
wish there's a free rental place. That's what we talked about.
Any other words for the good of the group? Hearing none? Hope you're feeling better,
Yeah,
Susie.
thank you, Susie.
I hope your husband's feeling better.
Thank you. Thank you.
Give him a shot of whiskey and see how that
Okay.